When you put together the graying ghost of a 90s legend and another almost gray ghost of another 90s legend, combined with mediocre matches throughout a show with little to no enhanced storytelling without, is that the formula for one of the greatest shows of all time? Or one of the worst shows ever? When you look at the booking of WWE in 2019, you see that in 2018 they had a pretty solid year when it comes to their pay-per-views. WrestleMania 34 was generally a well-regarded show, but then again they had stinkers like Backlash 2018, which wasn't just the backlash to WrestleMania, but yet another subsidiary Saudi show like the one we're looking at today. But then again, that came nowhere near the horridness of the 2019-2020 booking before the pandemic. In a sense, the pandemic kind of saved how the WWE was booking things because they were booking themselves deep into a hole with how things were going, especially in 2019. Today, we're going to be looking at one of the worst shows of that year, Super Showdown 2019. This is a show that is panned by many, as they don't really talk about anything else on the show save the main event, which is one of the worst matches we've ever seen in the WWE. Ever. But we'll get to that at the very end. First, we're going to be looking through the entire card before that, saying what was the build to that awful match to finish the show? Was it not like it ruined a great show? Was it that it was just a cherry on top of the awful Sunday that was Super Showdown 2019? Or was it just something that was there? So I'm going to be going through every match and every real thing that happened on the show with you today and what I thought of each one. The show kicked off with Seth freaking Rollins, not yet freaking, but still freaking enough, as the Universal Champion defending against Baron Corbin. This is a perfectly fine match. Now, we will hear the word fine quite a bit throughout the day, so I thought I'd tell you what each rating basically means. A fine on a scale of 1 to 10 roughly represents about a 6 or so. Maybe you can go a little higher or lower, but it's about a 6. A good represents about a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. A middling represents a 4.5, and a bad represents 2 or less. But those won't come into play until later on in the show. But this Seth versus Baron match is actually a basic match. It feels like a house show. It looks like a house show. That's basically what this entire show is as a whole. So Baron is dominating 90% of the match with a lot of strikes to Seth's midsection as Brock Lesnar, who is trying to take the Universal title from him, had attacked him the previous night on Raw, or a few nights beforehand, because this show was held randomly on a Friday. Saudi shows. But nonetheless, Baron does take a lot of control during this match. However, when Seth does come back, he decimates Baron. So Baron, he'll be working over a body part. Boom, boom, boom. Then Seth hits like one enziguri. Baron's down. He's out. He's cooked. He gets hit with one move and he's done. And then Seth will have a bit of a rally, and Baron is just absolutely gone, beaten up by Seth, which is a pretty solid character because, well, it's Baron Corbin, and I don't hate Baron Corbin. But when against Seth freaking Rollins, well, there's a bit of a height difference, and not just in stature, but in quality of every match they've ever been in. But I digress. So while Baron is trying his covers, he'll get a 1, 2, and then when Seth kicks out, he's like, count to 3 to the ref. And he does this on every single pinfall, or almost every single pinfall. And finally, Corbin goes to grab a chair, but the ref says, no! Put the chair away. You'll get disqualified. You can't win the title. So he's like, all right, fine. Throws the chair away. And then the referee is getting yelled at in the corner by Corbin after yet again he doesn't count all the way to 3, even though Seth very clearly kicked out. So Corbin's like yelling at him, if you're the ref, like, hey, you should count to 3 every pinfall. Ref finally comes back at him, pushes Baron. What are you trying to tell me to do? I'm the referee. I know what I'm doing. And Baron's like, oh, what? And he walks straight backwards into a down Seth's roll-up. Referee slides around. 1, 2, 3. He finally did count that 3, but not in Baron's favor, and Seth retains the title. Baron's very angry, attacks Seth post-match, hits him with an end of days. Boom, Seth's laid out in the ring. Uh-oh. And Brock Lesnar comes down to the ring, accompanied, of course, by Paul Heyman with the Money in the Bank briefcase. This is Beast in the Bank era, Boombox Brock era. So he's jiving down to the ring. Boom, boom, boom. He doesn't have the briefcase with him, unfortunately. They're not playing silly, fun rave music. Paul has it in his possession. Brock hops in the ring. He's like, awesome, I'm going to win the Universal title. Seth's laid out in the middle of the ring. Paul's like, yes! So he tries to come to the ring, trips on the ropes, drops the briefcase, and Brock's like, yo, what? So Seth is able to launch up as Brock tries to hit him with a chair he's bringing. Boom! Low blow to Brock. Brock's down. Brock's like, oh my gosh! Because that's exactly what happened at WrestleMania 35. So Seth grabs the chair that Brock dropped in the process of getting hit in the Brocks. He grabs that chair, beats the hell out of Brock with the chair, just bang, 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 bang. Pretty reminiscent of the previous episode of Raw, and then delivers a stomp onto the Money in the Bank briefcase, allowing Seth to escape with the title. A solid match to open the show, and a fun one at that. So far, the show's not that bad. We follow that up with Finn Balor versus Andrade for the Intercontinental Title. A good match with Finn having a great entrance, a very back and forth one obviously, high-flying affair, not surprising depending on who's in it. Finn hits a really vicious move halfway into the match, so Andrade's kind of standing in the dazed position as he would normally do. Gets on the top rope, delivers a coup de grace to the back of his neck, drives Andrade to the ground, does not get the 3 there, but Seth does end up kicking out of the hammerlock DDT very shortly afterwards. Balor hits a top rope angle DDT, followed by the coup de grace for the win. We see The Miz and Jinder Mahal backstage, and they talk about winning the 50-man Battle Royal later in the night. Miz is good, Jinder's fine, not surprising. Then we see Shane McMahon versus Roman Reigns, which is a good match. A lot of people said it's not on the Cage Match Wrestling database. However, it's kind of funny seeing Shane defeat Roman, and honestly, he doesn't look terrible in the match. Now, I do not have Shane McMahon in my possession, unfortunately, so we're going to be using his associate, Drew McIntyre, for the sake of representation. So there are a few spots during this match where Roman is about to hit a finisher. Drew McIntyre slightly interferes. He's like, so Shane's able to come in and strike him pretty hard. One of them, Roman's trying a Superman punch. Shane just blows him up at the knee, makes him collapse, and Shane hits a very solid-looking spear about halfway in. A lot of people complain about this match, like, oh, Shane beating Roman, ha 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 ha. It's not surprising that he didn't win the world title at this point. But Shane does hit a very solid, just boom, straight to Roman's chest, knocks him down. The finish of the match comes when they're kind of brawling in the middle of the ring, like, bah, bah, and then they hit each other at the same time, boom, Shane's hands go flying backwards, whacks the referee Charles Robinson in the face. Charles is like, oh, puts his hand down to cover his face, like, oh man, that hurt. Drew slides into the ring, Claymore, boom, Roman's down. Shane's like, ooh, cover. 1, 2, 3, Charles is back, and Shane wins the match. Now, both men got obscenely bad pyro at the very beginning. I'm just kidding. Of course, Roman got 8,000 tons of it, as we saw with from the ceiling. There are actual fireworks, actual pyro, but Shane got it back with an obscene amount of his own after the match. Not surprising. Then we see Kofi Kingston backstage discussing how Dolph Ziggler had attacked him 2 weeks prior, but how he is still prepared for their match even through his injury. Unsurprisingly, a great promo. Then we see Lars Sullivan versus the Lucha House Party at the first real dip of the show. This is a 3-on-1 handicap match featuring Kalisto, Grand Metalik, and the other guy, I don't remember his name, facing off against the first match on the main roster ever, Lars Sullivan. Lars doesn't actually dominate as much as you might think for a first match on the main roster, and LHB gets some solid offense in, insiguris, super kicks, the like. Given who's in the match, you know what I'm talking about. Lars is also shockingly fast and athletic for his size. He'll be running around the ring pretty quick, and he's matching pace with the 3 smaller guys, so it's not surprising, or it is surprising, I should say, how he didn't really do more with Vince in control. The finish comes. Let's see if you can take a guess. So Lars wins the match. Tell me, what move does he win the match with? I'll give you a few seconds. If you guessed the other team gets disqualified and he wins automatically, you are correct. Yes, the new guy that they want to push as a big, scary guy on the main roster wins by disqualification. He gets dropped on his balls on the top rope. Then they beat him up, and that's it. That's the end of the match. Next match, please. Well, actually, no. Lars ends up beating up the 3 Lucha House Party members right afterwards and tries to get some heat back, but it doesn't really work. The match wasn't great. Lars didn't look incredible, and this is a middling match. I forgot to mention the previous 2 matches got the good rating I was mentioning earlier. Then we go to Randy Orton versus Triple H. No, it is not 2005, but they are having a match 14 years after that. How I love Triple H matches in the middle of a pay-per-view. This won't go too long, will it? Yes, this is a long match, not surprising given who's in it, but it's fine enough. It's not wonderful, it's not terrible. Trips at this point wasn't really an active performer. He was just the guy who is upstage. He kind of wrestles occasionally, but isn't consistently, wrestling like Randy Orton was at the time. So this is his first match since WrestleMania against another member of Evolution, Batista. So he's much less experienced than Randy Orton is, a little rustier, but the beginning half of the match is really slow from both men, no matter what. But the second half really does pick up. Consistently, though, throughout the entire match, it seems, they'll be like tussling. Oh, try the RKO, push him off. Oh, kick to the midsection. Oh, try the pedigree. Oh, reversal. Try the RKO. Oh, no. And they keep trying their finishers over and over and over again and only hit them like once or twice each. I think Triple H only hits the pedigree once and Orton hits the RKO twice. The finish comes when Triple H does his back body drop thing onto the announce table. He does the boom. He does that once. He does that twice. He does that 3 times. He does it 4 times onto Randy Orton. Throws Randy back in the ring. Randy's kind of dazed, kind of getting up in like a Fortnite down position. I don't know how to describe it. And it looks like Triple H is kind of sitting up for the punt because he's in the corner, like ready to run, and runs at Randy. But Randy pops up really quick, catches him with an RKO, covers him. 1, 2, 3. Randy wins the match after roughly 30 minutes. Was it good? Not particularly. It was fine enough. I wouldn't have minded not seeing this match, but I haven't lost anything from watching it either. Then we see some 24/7 shenanigans from the way to Jeddah. There were some plain highlights or so. So R-Truth was on the tarmac, kind of getting a phone call like, yo, I need to talk to you about this. So Jinder Mahal came up from behind, rolled him up. Oh, 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding. Your new 24/7 champion. Ran into the plane, locked himself inside the bathroom, and waited 6 hours till everyone fell asleep. Once everyone did, he came out of the bathroom, like, everyone's asleep, got into his seat, and went to bed himself. R-Truth then woke up with a referee, came over, pinned him 1, 2, 3, new 24/7 champion, ran upstairs in the plane, hid in a room, and talked to his belt. That's the 24/7 title for you. We then saw a Baron Corbin backstage interview as he interrupted Byron Saxton talking to the commentators, complaining about the referee costing them the title match. Refs shouldn't do that. And he also said that heads will roll and stormed off. We then got to a big meaty man slapping man meat match as we saw Lashley versus Strowman, 2 very big men who have a lot of meat on them. That's basically what they said before the match as well, so I can say it too. It's a solid hoss fight. There's a few surprisingly athletic spots between the 2 men as Strowman busts out a solid front roll and Lashley does this move. I cannot remember the name of it for some reason. It's blanked me. I've been thinking about it for 3 hours. So basically, Lashley is standing in the middle of the ring and Strowman is running the ropes. He hits the one rope and he runs at Lashley, and Lashley does the move where he jumps over them, does a splits, and then Strowman goes between his legs, and then he turns around, ready for the next move. He does that move, and I don't know what it's called. I blanked on it. You can leave it down in the comments if I don't remember it. But nonetheless, whatever that move is called, he does that too. But it's a pretty domination-based match for both men, although Lashley is easily doing way better than Braun is at almost every turn. He's hitting his big power moves, he's hitting throws, he's hitting tosses, some small submissions on the ground, and then it looks like Lashley could have a chance to win as he goes top rope, but Braun catches him, tosses him off fully, blows him up onto the ground, picks him up, hits him with a pretty basic looking slam, kind of a power slam-ish position, also a body slam as well, picks him up once more, does his finisher, running power slam, boom, 1, 2, 3, and Braun wins the match. All in all, mediocre. I'd give it a fine here as well. About the same quality as Randy Orton versus Triple H, but not even close to the same length. Of course, the legends get more TV time than the little guys. We then went on to a pair of promos from Mustafa Ali and Samoa Joe, yet again talking about the 50-man Battle Royal later on in the night, and both men are up to their usual standards here. Then we got to Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE title. Yet again, another fine match. Kofi's accompanied to the ring by Xavier Woods for this, and both men fight back and forth with high-flying moves and ground and pound, kind of a mix of the Finn Balor match and the Lashley match that we just spoke about, but the finish does kind of come out of nowhere. So one note before I tell you about the finish. So Kofi is on the outside of the ring, he's kind of dazed, and Ziggles is like, ha, gotcha. So Woods tries to come over and help Kingston. Boom, super kick to Woods. Woods is out. He's like, oh no, got your friend. Throws Kofi back in the ring. They keep fighting. Then, when the finish comes, they're locked up in the middle of the ring, Ziggler and Kofi are, and Kofi kind of pushes Ziggles into the ropes. Kofi falls back as well. The ref's looking at Kofi. Xavier comes up from behind on the ropes, enzuigiri to the back of Dolph's head, walks straight into a Trouble in Paradise. Boom. And then 1, 2, 3. Kofi Kingston is still your WWE champion. Not an incredible match by any means. Definitely not up to the standards these two can definitely have. But all in all, an entertaining one at that. This is followed by a post-match interview by Byron Saxton with Dolph Ziggler demanding a steel cage rematch, which is announced later on in the night for the next pay-per-view, Stomping Grounds, which could debatably be another episode in this series. Then we go to the 50-man Battle Royal, which is honestly a pretty good showing. No one except The Miz, United States Champion Samoa Joe, Cesaro, Titus O'Neil, and Elias get entrances, so that shows you how everybody else is doing. Elias sings a little bit of a song on his way to the ring, but Miz interrupts him, tosses him in the ring, and the bell rings. I said ring a lot there, didn't I? I hope I don't get a phone call. Ring, ring. They spend 10 minutes in this match discussing how people are related to the 24/7 title. 10 minutes of this match. This match is about 15 to 16 minutes long. And right in the middle of it, Michael Cole and Corey Graves just start saying, oh, that guy was the first 24/7 champion. He's the longest reigning 24/7 champion. He has the most title reigns with a belt. He has 2. He's the youngest champion. And I'm like, I don't care what they have to do with the 24/7 title. It's the 24/7 title. I don't care. And they keep doing that for the majority of this middle of the match. The final 5 were Ricochet, Mustafa Ali, Mansoor, Cesaro, and Elias. Cesaro got rid of Ali and Ricochet, and Mansoor surprised him from behind and eliminated him. Then it got down to Mansoor and Elias. Elias tried to toss Mansoor over the ropes. He skinned the cat, grabbed Elias with his feet, tossed him over the top rope, and got him out with his legs for the win. Obviously, Mansoor is from Saudi Arabia, so he got a huge pop from this and cut a short promo afterwards talking about how he liked Saudi. And then, the main event! We shouldn't really be celebrating that it's the main event, but we are at the main event of the show. So we have your main event. No, that's copyright. I can't say that. Anyways, what's the way I can phrase it? Are you prepared to battle? Woohoo! So we have Goldberg versus The Undertaker. For really nothing. They're just fighting because it's a legend match. Voila. So Goldberg does his usual, like, okay, come out. You're on the door. It's time to go. But he does it kind of weird because this is how his entrance goes. A little bit odd from Goldberg. That is what I do when I headbutt a door in my intentional way, like I ever do that in my life. Anyways, Goldberg and Undertaker start the match off. It's a pretty, honestly, fun match for the first 2 minutes or so, because Goldberg just spears Taker right off the bat and does it again immediately afterwards. But after he throws Taker into the corner, he spears the post head on, fully. Imagine you're the post. This is normally how you'd want to spear it. Maybe your shoulder hits it. He goes full on, head to the post, absolutely blows his brains up. He is red instantly, bleeding everywhere. It's not as bad as something like the Eddie Guerrero one, but it's pretty bad looking. So Undertaker is visibly like, oh no. And at the very end of the match, he's visibly disappointed in what he's done and what the match was. But nonetheless, Goldberg, from that point onward, does one more thing correctly and successfully throughout the entire match, which is a 10 to 11 minute match. 8 minutes, I think it actually was. But still, that's 6 minutes doing one thing correct. That's not great. And that one thing is a good spear surprise kind of out of nowhere. So Taker's getting set up for a move. He does snake eyes, tosses him. Oh, no, he's stunned. Taker goes back for his big boot. Boom, spear out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, whoa, Goldberg's still in it. But he's bleeding everywhere. He tries to jackhammer Taker, drops him straight onto his head. That's great. He really screws up the tombstone. He's trying a tombstone of his own. So he's got Taker set up. He's in the tombstone position and just kind of goes like, meh, and completely collapses. And then to finish off the match, they just rush to the finish, really. Taker says, all right, we're doing the finish now. Gets him in a choke slam. One. He doesn't even get this much height. I'm doing this with a figure, pretending he got this much height. He got about that much height off the move. Lands on the ground, takes it terribly. goes for the cover. 1, 2, 3. Taker wins the match and wins the crown of worst match on the show. That one receives a bad. So all in all, the show is not that terrible. It's just middling for most of it and nothing really eventful going on and a really bad main event. So if you look at the whole show and you review the whole show, I went into it being like, okay, every match is probably going to be terrible or bad. So I'm not going to really have high expectations. But really, only 2 matches were less than fine. The 3-on-1 handicap and the main event. But the main event, oh, that's awful. The best watching experience for this would have been to watch the first 3 matches and then turn it off. But obviously, we couldn't do that. So the Intercontinental Title match was obviously match of the night. It was really good, high flying, and I enjoyed what I was seeing. And McMahon and Reigns was surprisingly good, in my opinion. A lot of people didn't like it, but still, I thought it was entertaining at least. And almost every other match had some merit to it, save those 2 I mentioned. All in all, the show was not even as close to bad as I thought it might have been. But the main event is an all-time stinker. I'd give the show, in total, about a 6.5 out of 10. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you seen the show before? Whether or not, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, good dawn, good dusk, good whatever. Make sure to watch any former or future episodes of this channel, and goodbye.